Yes, sir.
So we are replacing xi star with W2 xi and beta star with W1 by W2 into beta hat. Then what is happening? This W2 is being cancelled out. So eventually you see here I have W1 yi, here I have W1 alpha hat, here I have W1 beta hat into xi and then whole square. So what we are doing, we are taking out W1 square. Then we have summation of yi. This is not y1, this should be yi. So we have yi minus alpha hat minus beta hat xi, and this is nothing but u hat I square. Is it clear, Shivam? I think you had the doubt, no, Shivam?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
So have you got both the expressions?
Sir, I'm just solving for
Variance of
beta
beta
hat,
star and variance of
beta
alpha
star.
star?
Sir, I am calculating the variance of beta star.
Okay. So when we go for deriving the expression for variance of beta star, we know that variance of beta star is equal to sigma star square divided by summation of small xi star square. And then what we need to do, we need to replace sigma star square with W1 square sigma hat square and summation of xi star square with what already we have derived earlier, that is W2 square into summation of small xi square. Because we know small xi star is equal to W2 small xi. So small xi star square would be equal to W2 xi square. And then we need to take summation on both the sides. So it would be W2 square into summation of small xi square. And this is what we have replaced. We know that sigma star square is equal to W1 square sigma hat square and summation of small xi star square is equal to W2 square into summation of small xi square. And we know that sigma hat square divided by summation of small xi square, this is nothing but variance of beta hat. So eventually we are getting variance of beta star is equal to W1 by W2 whole square into variance of beta hat. Is it okay, Shivam? Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Now what about variance of alpha hat?
Sir, completed.
In the same way, basically we need to replace sigma hat square, sorry, sigma star square with the corresponding expression, that is W1 square sigma hat square, and similarly x bar star square and summation of small xi star square. So once you do this, you will be getting W1 square variance of alpha hat. Is it done for all of you? Have you all done this? Then we can proceed to the next. topic?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me just tell you the purpose of doing this. What we have done earlier, we have tried to see how the OLS estimators of the coefficients change following the change in origin and scale of the variables. We have also seen how will the correlation coefficient between X and Y and also capital R square, that is the goodness of fit. How will these measures change if we change origin and scale of the variables? And today we discussed what will be the impact of change of scale of the variables on OLS estimator of the variance of the regression coefficients. Subsequently, we'll also see how the changes are influencing the corresponding test statistics. Because when we estimate a model with changes in scale or origin of measurement of the variables, we have three aspects to be very careful about. One is how the estimates of the coefficients are changing, how the goodness of fit of the estimated model is changing, and what would be the impact on testing of hypothesis. We have seen about the coefficients, how they will change. We have seen about the goodness of fit, how will R square value change following change in origin or scale or both. And today we discussed how will the variances change. And next what we'll explore, how will the test statistics change. But before that, we need to have discussion about different test statistics. And for that, we need to understand some important statistical distributions. And if you see this document, what I have uploaded today, toward the end of this document, if you see, I have uploaded some aspects of different types of test statistics. But before that, let us have a discussion on statistical distributions. And for that, we will start with normal distribution, right? If you can recall, when we discussed about classical linear regression model, we talked about the assumption of normality of the random disturbance term. We assumed that the random disturbance term is normally distributed. And following that, we had derived the statistical distribution of yi. Because yi is a linear transformation of ey, we could see that yi is also normally distributed if ui is normally distributed. And subsequently, we had also derived the statistical distribution of alpha hat and beta hat. Before that, we derived that both alpha hat and beta hat both are linear function of yi. If you can recall, we had derived both alpha hat and beta hat as the linear function of yi. We had derived that, say for example, beta hat is equal to summation of ki into capital yi. Similar expression we had derived for alpha hat also. And because yi is normally distributed, following normal distribution of ui, we found that alpha hat and beta hat are also normally distributed. Now, why this normal distribution of alpha hat and beta hat? How this assumption is important for testing of hypothesis, that we'll be discussing subsequently. But we started our discussion with normal distribution of ui, following that normal distribution of yi, and following that normal distribution of alpha hat and beta hat. And here I have added some important aspects of normal distribution, and very important aspect in this regard is, one is the symmetry. You know that normal distribution is symmetric. It is mirror image around the mean. The other important aspect would be this: how much of the normal curve we can specify under different ranges, like say mu plus minus sigma. Remember, mu is the mean of the random variable x and sigma is the standard deviation. So mu plus minus sigma, mu plus minus 2 sigma, mu plus minus 3 sigma. So different areas of the normal curve are covered under these ranges. Like 68% of the area under the normal curve falls within mu plus minus sigma. Similarly, 95% falls under mu plus minus 2 sigma. Now, these would be very important subsequently when we discuss about testing of hypothesis. And then I've also added some aspects like how will the distribution change following linear transformation of the normal variables or the variables that are normally distributed. Now, I have already uploaded this file, and I think in your statistics for economics course, you had some discussions on these aspects. You have a look, and if there is any doubt, you ask me in tomorrow's class. We can have detailed discussion on that. But in this connection, what is very important is to understand the standard normal distribution. Basically standardizing x by taking deviation from the mean and dividing by standard deviation. That is z is equal to x minus mu divided by sigma. If we do this, if we convert x into z in this fashion, then z will follow standard normal distribution, what essentially suggests that the mean would be 0 and the variance would be equal to unity. So here z will follow standard normal distribution with 0 mean and unit variance. Then from this z, we can derive another very important distribution, that is chi-square. If there are k standard normal variate, like say z1, z2 up to zk, and if we square these z variables and sum them up over k, then what we get is basically another statistical distribution, that is chi-square, with degrees of freedom k. But unlike normal distribution or standard normal distribution that are symmetric, this chi-square distribution is not symmetric, rather it is skewed to the right. And using standard normal variate and chi-square distribution, we get another distribution that is called T. What is that? If Z1 follows standard normal distribution and Z2 follows chi-square distribution, then this measure, that is Z1 by square root of Z2 by k, this will follow T distribution. Now, like normal distribution or standard normal distribution, T distribution is also symmetric. And with increase in degrees of freedom, the T distribution will approximate to the normal distribution. And you might have seen in your other courses that when we go for testing statistical significance of the individual coefficients, what test statistic we use, those test statistics for individual coefficients, they follow T distribution. And we check the corresponding theoretical values from the T table. This T distribution basically comes from the ratio of standard normal distribution Z1, you can see here Z1, and the square root of the chi-square distribution. So in OLS method, you will see for individual coefficients, we will be basically using the test statistics that will be following T distribution. And then the other distribution which will be very, very important is F distribution. If there are two chi-square distribution, two independent chi-square distribution, then the ratio standardized by the respective degrees of freedom would give us the F distribution. Like if Z1 and Z2 are two independent chi-square variables with degrees of freedom K1 and K2 respectively, then Z1 by K1 divided by Z2 by K2, that will actually give us the F distribution. And like chi-square distribution, this F distribution is also not symmetric, rather skewed to the right, as we have seen in case of chi-square distribution. And this F distribution would be very, very important for testing statistical significance of the overall model. So two things would be very, very important in this connection. One is statistical significance of the overall model and statistical significance of the individual coefficients. I'll prove in the class that for bivariate model, there is no difference in statistical significance of the overall model and statistical significance of the slope coefficient, that is beta. If the individual coefficient is statistically significant, so will be the overall model and vice versa. And the level of significance would be exactly the same. And this is so because the t square of beta would be equal to f. But again, that happens only for bivariate model. We'll have different scenario altogether when we switch over from bivariate model to multiple regression model. But what we need to discuss subsequently is how the test statistics are linked to such distributions. Why do I say that the test statistic for individual coefficients, that is alpha hat and beta hat, would follow t distribution? Why do I say that the test statistic for overall significance of the model would follow F distribution? That theoretical understanding first we should have. So one thing is, we need to now go for deriving the corresponding statistical distribution of the test statistics. This is point number one. And for that, we also need to discuss about the hypothesis, setting the null hypothesis and setting the alternative hypothesis. And the third important aspect is carrying out statistical test. Basically comparing with the theoretical value and making a conclusion on whether to reject or not to reject the null hypothesis. So the process that we will follow in the next class would be like this. First, we'll define the hypothesis. Second, we'll derive the statistical distribution of the respective test statistics. And then we'll discuss about how to carry out the statistical test and make a conclusion. I'd just like to add a couple of more points in this regard. One is how these four distributions, there are some other distributions I have already added here. You can see subsequently, I didn't go for detailed discussions because parallelly another course is going on and many of you have already done the course probability and statistics. Like say Bernoulli distribution, binomial distribution, Poisson distribution, These distributions you have already studied or you might be studying right now. So just have a look. Still, if you have any doubt, please ask me in tomorrow's class. Here I am basically concentrating on 4 distributions that I'll be requiring while discussing on testing of hypothesis. One is normal distribution, from normal distribution to standard normal distribution, then from standard normal distribution to chi-square distribution. You know that if you square the standard normal variable and sum them, then you will get the chi-square distribution like this. This is standard normal variable z, and how are you getting chi-square? Summation of zi square. So if z1, z2, zk are independent and follow standard normal distribution, and if you square them up and add, then you will get the chi-square distribution. So from normal distribution, we are getting standard normal distribution. From standard normal distribution, we are getting chi-square distribution. Then by combining a standard normal variable and a chi-square variable, we are getting the t distribution like this. So standard normal variable z1 divided by the square root of the chi-square variable z2 standardized by the degrees of freedom k, it is giving me t distribution. And then by using 2 chi-square variable, we are getting f. And that is why I told in one of the classes that normal distribution of the random disturbance term is very, very important, particularly for testing of hypothesis. If ui is normally distributed, then alpha hat and beta hat will be normally distributed. Then from there we'll get standard normal variate. From there we'll get chi-square distribution and we'll compute the respective test statistics. This is point number 1. And point number 2 is basically testing of, while testing of hypothesis. As I said, we need to set the hypothesis, the null hypothesis. For individual coefficients, say for example, we'll set the null hypothesis that alpha is equal to 0, means there is no intercept. Beta is equal to 0, means there is no influence of x on y. And what we'll do basically in testing of hypothesis, we'll test if we can reject the null. There will be 2 situations. Either we will be able to reject the null hypothesis or we will fail to reject the null hypothesis. Remember, rejection of the null hypothesis doesn't necessarily mean that the alternative hypothesis is accepted. We will not use the term accept the alternative hypothesis or accept the null hypothesis. Rather, we'll say either the null hypothesis is rejected or we fail to reject the null hypothesis. In this connection, a very important aspect would be one-tail test versus two-tail test. And whether we'll be going for one-tail test or two-tail test, that will depend on how we are setting the alternative hypothesis. Like if null hypothesis is beta is equal to 0, and if we write alternative hypothesis as beta not equal to 0, then I'll basically go for two-tailed hypothesis. Beta is equal to 0 means X has no influence on Y. Beta is not equal to 0 means X has some influence on Y. But this influence may be direct, it may be inverse. If we don't specify whether beta is greater than 0 or less than 0, then we are basically going for two-tailed test, because there we are mentioning the alternative hypothesis beta is not equal to 0. Like say if I go for testing the validity of the law of demand, ideally what should I do? I should write beta is equal to 0 against the alternative hypothesis beta is less than 0. If I go for testing the validity of the consumption function, I should write beta is null hypothesis as beta is equal to 0, alternative hypothesis beta is positive. Now if there are counter arguments, definitely the alternative hypothesis may change. So how to set the hypothesis, then how to derive the test statistics and their corresponding distributions, and how to carry out the statistical test. These are the three aspects what we are going to discuss in tomorrow's class. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
I'll stop here and let me know if you have any other question.